Hiya. Very excited to talk a little bit about bipolar type 1 today. It's something that I suffer from myself, and my girlfriend suffers from it too. So obviously it's something that's very, very important to me to talk about. And yeah, I just really care about all you guys that are suffering from it. And I hope that you guys can find a little bit of solace from this video. Um, but yeah, um, the main thing that I just want to start off with is busting the myth that bipolar is about I have good times and then I have bad times, because it's just such a simplistic view. Like, so many people today are when they ask you about what bipolar is, that is their explanation. People have really good times and then really bad times. It's just, how simplistic is that? The way that I like to think of bipolar is that is when you have a ridiculously high energy state for somewhere between 2 weeks and, let's say, 6 months, and then this is followed by a period of incredibly low energy, because obviously that state of incredibly high energy is unable to be maintained for long periods of time. So people describe it as a mood disorder, but I prefer to think of it in this way, because mood implies that the high periods always feel great, whereas energy doesn't. And the thing with bipolar is that mania can be, in a lot of ways, a million times worse than the depressive phases of bipolar. And I'll sort of explain a little bit about bipolar mania for people that don't understand, and also I'll include a little bit of my story as well, so that people can maybe feel a bit less alone. So yeah, I've sort of got this way of thinking of it, and I think a few others do, of sort of being 4 stages of full-blown mania. And it starts off more hypermanic, and then it gets to a manic level. So I'll sort of start with stage 1. Um, Stage 1 of full-blown mania is when you've got increased levels of energy. Sorry for the shaking, my hands are very shaky all the time. Yeah, so you've got incredibly high energy, you're finding it hard to sleep, you're finding it hard to eat, and you've got an idea. So that idea could be anything. The particular example that I'm going to give is, my idea was, I love poetry and I love rhymes, and I would spend my nights when I wouldn't sleep just writing rhymes and writing poetry, and soon it became raps, and I became quite obsessed with raps. And this is where it really gets to stage 2 of mania, where it's like you become obsessed with that thing and your whole life revolves around it, and you sort of think, this is like the center of my life, and even though you've only been doing this thing for like, a couple of weeks, it's like the most important thing that's ever happened to you. Um, this realization. So I started just writing raps all the time, all day, and just listening to a load of rhymes. Now, when it sort of tips into, and you're incredibly productive during this phase, now this is when it sort of tips over to the mania side, because that is when you get to stage 3, where it goes from being an obsession that you're spending all of your time doing to being a big delusion. So this is where I went from. Well, I'll go back to stage 2 a moment. So also stage 2, your grandiose delusions start. So I was like, I will make it as an amazing rapper, and I sort of already pictured myself there. Like, I am so close, even though I'm just getting started. I'm only just learning to start writing raps. I was like, I believe that I am able to do this, and I will do this, and it will happen within the next few weeks. I will be a famous rapper. So then I'd say that goes to stage 3, where it's like something just clicks, and all of a sudden you believe something which is completely not true. And this is where it becomes slightly psychotic. For me personally, I believe that I was in some way related to Eminem. So as in, I am in some way a relative of Eminem. You guys probably find this quite funny. Looking back now, because I'm in a state of recovery, I'm able to look back at it with humour too, which is good. And hopefully you guys will get to that stage one day too. But yeah, so I believe this, and I just was barely sleeping at all, and I enjoyed not sleeping at all. And I was like, I don't need to sleep. I am better than sleep. I don't, I spend all my days and all my nights writing raps, and that's what makes me better than the rest, or something like that. Yeah, so that was sort of my stage 3. And then you move on to stage 4. And stage 4 is what I'd say is the stage where you make a decision which is incredibly risky, that you would never ever make in a million years had it not been for your mania. So for example, my one was, I am going to take my suitcase, I'm supposed to go to school today, but I am going to take a plane to Detroit, and I will live on the streets until I become a famous rapper, because that's the best way of me making it in the industry, apparently. So I planned on going 3 days before Eminem's 40th birthday. It was, I think it was like the 13th of October 2012. Yeah, I planned to go, and I didn't, thankfully, because that would have been incredibly stupid, just living on the streets for however long it lasted without a return flight. But yeah, it's stage 4 is very much you making a decision which is clearly not thought through, and it could be quite harmful to you, or potentially to the society around. I just want to say at this stage, bipolar is such a hard thing to go through, and it gets perhaps even harder when you've just gone all the way up there and then suddenly you crash down. That energy is gone. You don't have that energy to spend anymore, and your brain just shuts down, and you're so depressed, and you've got no self-esteem, because you realize that all of these things that you believed about yourself aren't true. And it's so hard to go through, and the amount of times that I've had that is just ridiculous. But I really want to say at this stage, I am living proof that you can get better. And if you're going through these phases at the moment, and you just feel like, I'm going in phase after phase after phase, I'd go through these cycles maybe once, twice a year for many years. But I've made it through, and the thing is that you can too. And I really want to put that positivity in there, because I really believe it, and I want to be part of your journey in getting a little bit better. And I hope that you can find solace in my videos. But yeah. Hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that you've learnt something from this. And I hope to see you soon as well. Bye.